What's the vibe, tribe? Welcome back to another small business framework. I am your coach Shay, and today we're going to speak about content and how it relates to our personal brand and our business. So, for all of my solopreneurs, my entrepreneurs that's in the early growth stages of your business, whether you have already generated content for your YouTube channel or another social media platform, or you haven't started generating any type of content yet, I need to make you aware of this problem now, because we have the solution and we want to apply it before we produce any more content or any content at all. Okay, so before you continue pouring any more ideas, energy, and time into creating content only to get likes but no clients, that is a major issue, and more than likely is because your call to action is weak. Okay, it is so important that when we're creating content, as an entrepreneur who's looking to generate sales, to generate more business, to attract more leads to our business, to create new offers and build new systems, that you are involving your community through direct communication by creating a strong call to action. Now, a call to action is just like it sounds. Sometimes it is abbreviated to CTA. You might actually see that in the title and description, and that's okay because this is really specific content. Like if you're not creating content, this or selling anything or making an offer, this may not be an appropriate piece of content for you. If you're not creating content but you are already in sales and make offers and generate some sales, then you will still be able to take away some gems for this video. Okay, but I want you, no matter what, to have a strong call to action, because most are weak. They're either too vague or it's missing altogether. Okay, but here's the good news is that we have the solution to that. I got you. Okay, once you understand this simple framework for crafting call to actions, you literally can turn any piece of content into a client attracting magnet. Okay, because that's important, especially those of us who are not just doing content creation just because, right? Or even just because we're delivering education as the value and maybe we don't have any expectations in return. That doesn't work for a business though. If you are serious about running a business and you are wearing the hat in your content department, you absolutely need this information and to apply it ASAP. And again, I got you. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. When creating call to action for your content, there's going to be 5 things that I need you to consider. And today we're going to go over all 5 so that after this video, you can go back and look at the call to actions that you have in your current contents, if you have any. And then going forward, when you're creating content, that you're keeping this in mind. It's just as important as your hook, right? We've had a conversation about how important your hook is, the introduction to your video, to captivate your audience to stay and watch the rest of the video. But what happens when they watch the whole video? What is your call to action like, right? We need to make that clear for our audience, not assuming or presuming that they know what to do just because they watch their content. We want to make sure that we're directly communicating with them. Communication is key. All right, so here we go with the 5 things that make your call to action weak and how to make sure that we make it strong, right? So the very first mistake that we're making with our call to action, what makes it weak, is that we have no call to action at all. I want to emphasize that if you are just creating educational content and you believe in just putting out the free value and people will have the knowledge to do what they will with it, okay. But again, we're assuming and presuming that they are. All right. We actually don't know what people are taking away from our content unless we ask them. So in asking, that's the communication piece though, right? Like we're telling them that we'd like for them to provide feedback or to ask their questions if they have any, and how to do that. We need to give them the steps, okay? So it's important that even if you're just delivering education and maybe your branding is strong and people are able to identify that this brand educates people on this thing, Without a call to action, all we're doing still is just dropping value, but we're never actually guiding people on what to do next. And that's dangerous, right? Like, it's great to feel inspired, but the feeling of being expired, well, you will be expired if you don't have strong call to actions. The feeling of being inspired but not having any action steps next means that feelings wane. They come and go. And that's why it's not enough to even thrive on motivation in anything that we're doing, right? Motivated to go to work, motivated to go to the gym, motivated to go to school, motivated to do content. Motivation is not enough to drive action. Okay? We want to inspire people, and then we want to give them steps on what to do with that inspiration. It's energy. We want them to transform that energy and transmute it into something tangible, or transmute it into content for themselves, or to transmute it into power, right? There's a saying that knowledge is power, and I like to say that knowledge is power in action. Okay? You can know a lot of things, or you can know a little bit about a lot of things, but if you don't do anything with it, then how is it powerful? It's only powerful if you and others can use it, right? It's only powerful if you're able to get some resource from it, but then you're also able to pass it around in your community, and they can also get resources from it. They can do something with it that improves their lives. That's how we actually make an impact with people. So it's really important to add a call to action to our content. If you have not been doing that, the solution is to begin doing that. Now, before we move on to the next 4 things that makes your content weak, let's stick with the call to action. Now that we know that it absolutely needs to be a part of our content, or if you already knew that and you've been using call to actions already, so this is a great way to check in on yourself and to see how you're doing so far, especially if you're not converting clients, right? Or if you're not gaining new leads. You want to check this, okay? What is your call to action? What is it? Because if you're only telling your audience to like, comment, and subscribe just because that's what you hear your content creators say, or just because you believe that that's something that you should say on the YouTube platform, right? That's what you've learned somewhere. But what does that actually do for you and your business? Now's the time to actually take a moment and think about that, right? Like, I appreciate if you like this comment, please do. If you genuinely like it, and I'm giving you the call to action right now, take a moment and like this comment so that I know that you like it and I could continue to produce more of it. That's a full call to action, right? However, now on the back end of this, what does a like do for me and my business? To be honest, not much. Likes are great for others to see, right? Your other viewers to see that other people have resonated with that content as well, but it doesn't actually drive sales. So if you are creating content to drive sales, why would you be giving people the call to action to like your content? I'm just saying, it doesn't mean that liking content isn't a part of you driving your business. I'm saying that you need to understand why it is a part of that, right? You should be able to articulate and communicate that. If your response is just because, well, that's what people say on YouTube, that has nothing to do with driving anything in your business, right? You want people to like it because you want to grow your community and show the community, show new viewers how many people actually resonate with this content as well, right? Or it helps the YouTube algorithm to get this content out to more people that's like you so that we could grow our community. We need to articulate that full thing. Like, expanding our community is driving our business, right? The more people that we have in our community, the better decisions that we make about our brand and our business, right? They get to participate. We find volunteers, we find new leads, we find clients, right? The more that we expand our community, we find people who resonate with our mission and who wants to join and help. So it's important that we're articulating what we're driving here, and we want our audience to know that. So it's real important not to skip having thoughtful call to actions for your business. Okay, so let's go through the rest of the points because this is going to help you shape your call to action even more. Like, what's really important? Which call to action should I include then? You said like, comment, and subscribe. There's so many other call to actions, right? Those could be a part of it, but what else should I say? We'll talk about it, okay? So let's move on to the next point. So we know that a part of having a very weak call to action is having none at all. The next one is being very vague. Again, using comments like, comment, and subscribe is very vague, okay? If we're not talking to our audience about what these things do, because they actually may not know, y'all. Like, don't just assume that a viewer who might be new to YouTube, like YouTube's been around for a while, but it really depends on your audience, like who you're attracting, right? So there's some people who might be on YouTube all the time and they never like people's content, but they really like the content creator. But we want to give them the opportunity that if that content creator finds value in you liking their content, that they're also providing you the opportunity to do that, right? We want to provide the opportunity for our audience to do that, even if it's not something that they regularly do on their own. And then we want to consider the type of people that's showing up and we don't know. They might not actually know that there's a like button. Do not assume anything about someone that you have not met and spoke to on your own. These are all of your virtual leads and clients, right? This is our community, but it's our audience that we don't see and we don't get a chance to talk to unless we give them a call to action on how to reach out. So, like, comment, and subscribe is very vague. If you need likes, you're going to tell them why. If you want people to comment, tell them what you want them to comment. So don't just say comment. Like, what if you just did like 2-hour-long content for someone and you're like, comment on this if you really liked it and you stayed for the whole entire piece and you enjoyed it. And all they put in the comment box is cool. What does that give you in your business? What does that do for you in your business? Right? Nothing. It's not substantial. However, if you create a strong call to action that's specific, like, hey, if you have any questions on how to create strong call to actions for your content, I want you to leave a comment down below that says, I need help creating strong call to actions, and then I'll reach out to you to schedule some time and we could speak one-on-one personally. Or I'm holding a workshop that you can join, or here's a template that you can download for free that will provide you with strong call to actions. Like, I'm just saying, y'all, it's not enough to just parrot these words of like, comment, and subscribe. You want to be specific about what the comment does. Now, if I'm viewing this, right, and I feel I still need help with my call to actions, my content creator just told me that there's a way to reach out and make my call to action stronger, which is something that I need to do because I want to convert clients, right? They gave me direction on how to solve my problem. Here is the next step to do it. It is to write in this comment box. That's the next step. Then we even gave them what happens after they do that step. So now they know what to expect after they comment. They're more likely to do the thing when they can actually visualize the process. They don't have to actually walk through it. You don't even need to explain it. In fact, don't. We actually never explain the process, okay? You can, but it's not, if it's already built into an offer that you sell, it wouldn't be wise, because then what's the point, right? It's like you want people to be able to go on a seamless, smooth journey for the things that you're offering. So if the call to action is to comment, you want to tell them why. Do me a favor, comment and let me know if you find this kind of content valuable as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or even if you're an entrepreneur in a big business, right? Or a small business. Let me know if you find this kind of content valuable down in the comment box by letting me know what one of your takeaways were from this video today. Give them something specific, because otherwise they're going to be vague too. If you give a vague order or a vague direction, you're going to get a vague response. Be specific so that you can get specific data, specific feedback, specific responses, right? How's the quality and sound of this video? I'm in a new space. Let me know down in the comments. That is the way to give call to actions, y'all. So we want to be mindful about being too vague. Saying things like check it out or let me know without context and without urgency, right? Let me know right now. Take a moment and let me know right now down in the comment box what you think. Right? We have to help our audience in this way, and it helps us in our business on the back end. Okay. So we don't want to be too vague. So now take a moment to think about whether in your current content, how specific have you been with your call to actions, or are they actually too vague? Are you one that has been utilizing terms like, comment, and subscribe? And even with those call to actions, you're either not receiving any of them, okay, because again, they're vague. and also it's very repetitive, like all content. A lot of content creators just say that because they believe that they're supposed to say that, so no one does it because that's just something that people say, right? I don't know what that does. It doesn't do anything for me, and I actually don't know if it does anything for them because they never said that it does. They just told me to do this thing. That doesn't seem like it's important because we didn't create the sense of urgency, right? So now think about the content that you might have created that sounds just like that, like, comment, subscribe, but is actually not thoughtful to your business nor your audience. And then I also want you to think about whether you actually have been very specific with your call to action. That's great. I want you to stay with me as we go over the next 3 points. Now, what we also want to be mindful of when creating a call to action so that we make it strong and not weak is don't give your audience too many choices in the call to action. Like, don't give a whole bunch of call to actions that's not relevant to the content that you're creating. Or again, it's just all together like, comment, and subscribe. Those actually might be too much together. 2 of those are a click of a button. The other one needs actual context. Like, you actually have to write something out. And if I'm actually a viewer of your content, I'm watching your content, I may not want to do all of that right now. And then we don't want to leave the expectation that people are going to, first of all, stay to the end of our content, that video, or that they're going to do it at the end either, because your video's done. So a lot of the times they'll hop off. Once we get to call to actions, a lot of times people start to hop off, especially if you did not provide all of the value up front in your contents as to, hey, you need this thing right now, and the way to get it is to do this. If you didn't land that, you're not even going to get the like, comment, and the subscribe. And again, it's too many choices. You either want people to subscribe to your channel and maybe hit the notification bell. That's 2. But once you start to go more than that, you lose people, okay? And here's a tip. If we do have multiple call to actions that are relevant to the content, try not to keep everything all together. Like, spread it out throughout the content, especially where it's relevant, right? So now that we talked about likes and comments, if you do find this content valuable and you haven't subscribed yet, do so. And make sure you hit a notification bell, because usually I do my webinars live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday. So if you find this kind of content valuable and you want more of it, join me next Saturday live. But you have to hit the subscribe and notification, because that's the only way that you're going to be reminded. How else am I going to tell you about it, right? This is our first meeting. This is how I'm courting you. So I need you to do that. By the way, actually do that for real, for me. I'm trying to grow this channel, and I would love for you to be a part of this community. That's the call to action. Now, this is the middle, or maybe a quarter of a way through this entire piece of content. So I didn't leave any of my call to actions that are important to me at the end of the video. And I also didn't just spit it out at the beginning of the video as a part of the introduction just to get it out of the way. Give your audience a chance to take action on a thing by the moment. Don't give them all the call to actions in one moment, because analysis paralysis. Like, if I have to think about what I got to do first, do I want to do them at all? What do I get out of this? What do they get out of this? Is my information being spread somehow? They're going to spam me if I do something like this. Do I have to pay for this if I do this? I don't understand what it means to subscribe. Am I actually rolling into a subscription? Don't make any assumptions about potential clients and how they utilize the platforms where your content lives. Okay? Don't give them too many things to think about. If you give them too many choices, you're giving them too many things to think about. So here's another thing. Maybe subscribers are important to you and your content and your business. So you're going to sprinkle that in at some point, right? The beginning, the middle, or the end of your content. But then, as a business owner, right, you want to give a call to action about your business, and that should be the priority, y'all. Like, naturally, if people find your content valuable and they are familiar with YouTube, they'll subscribe, or they'll learn how if they don't already know how. So if you're growing your content organically and maybe you don't want to mention to subscribe, that's okay. People are going to follow you anyway if you're producing content consistently and is valuable. So keep that in mind, because it's really important to prioritize a call to action that's going to help you generate something valuable back into your business. Leads, sales, discovery calls, workshops, right? Website. Like, what's your most important call to action? And emphasize that. And I would actually highly recommend that you emphasize that more than once in that piece of content. The same call to action more than once is better than having many call to actions many times. Okay? So focus on your single call to action that'll yield you the best results, but will also yield your audience the best results too. Okay? A confused audience takes no action. I need to let you, this, it's a weak call to action if you're doing the most with all of these words that do not have a purpose. And even if they did have purposes, like, do you need to talk about your merchandise that sells mugs if your content is about how to handle power tools, like how to use a drill, right? It may not be relevant. So we don't need to talk about everything. We need to talk about what's important so that we can help our audience take action. And by the way, here's another tip. Is maybe you do have multiple call to actions though, like they're connected to a link, so it takes your audience from one place to another. Drop the links in the description box. So you can do that. Like, if you're talking in your content and something comes up that is relevant, but it's not necessarily something that you want to prioritize. Like, I have a template of call to actions. If you like that, if you would like a copy of it to see how you can make your call to action stronger, you're going to click the link down in the comment box below and keep it pushing. Okay? And sorry, in the description box below, right? So, and then you're going to keep it pushing. But even the things that you don't mention in the content, put it in the description box and give them a reason to go there. Once they have a reason to go into the description box and see all of these links, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, like this entrepreneur does a lot. They actually have a lot of stuff. Let me check it out. And they get to decide for themselves, right? So you can add it to your description box if you have many call to actions. Just don't all spray it all verbally during the content to them, okay? You want to be very mindful about giving them too many choices. Next, number 4, y'all. We almost there. So here is the next thing that makes your call to action weak, and we want to help you to solve it today. There is a lack of urgency and relevance in a lot of call to actions. Like, some of my favorite content creators almost always puts a time on a call to action, or they place some sort of urgency. It's like, and you'll see it too, even in like the titles of the content, much less of when they speak it in the content, right? But it's usually time sensitive. Like if you have a workshop coming up, you should be speaking about that in your content and letting people know how to sign up before the workshop happens, right? So you want to make it time sensitive as long as it's relevant to the content, right? Or maybe it's urgent. Like, do you know how much money you're leaving on the table by having a weak call to action? Well, if you download the template down in my description box, you're able to figure out how, which by the way, I don't know where that template is. So I keep saying it. It's actually not down there. If I could find it, I'll add it in case there is someone that's interested in it. But call to actions, the reason why I don't even know if I'd recommend it is because your call to action needs to be specific to you and your business. But we'll talk about that later and how you can ensure that happens because you came and stayed and watched all of this content. But again, you might be leaving a lot of money on the table by having a weak call to action. Here's how to solve that problem. Download this, attend this, click on this, leave a comment on this, subscribe, hit the notification bell, right? Like, we want to give people a chance to do something in the moment that they are inspired. So it's not just about your content being inspirational. It's about helping your audience who's watching that content in which they were inspired now take inspired action. We don't want to just leave them with the feeling alone. We want to take them to the next step in that feeling because then they're more willing to do it. They naturally want to do it. So there's no persuasion or convincing. It's just it's the most natural next step for this person, okay? If that action doesn't feel time sensitive or connected to the problem that they're looking to solve right now, all they are doing is saying, yo, that was a good piece of content. That's it. And then they're going to keep it pushing, but they're not actually going to take the next step. So how do we actually help them solve their problems? We got to give them just the next step of the process. Okay. So, for the fifth thing that will make your call to action weak, and if you don't solve it right now, is if your call to action is always just about you and your business. Call to actions, I've seen this in content before where it's very self-centered. Like, to a degree, if your call to action is something that is important to your business but is self-centered, for example, help me get to 1,000 followers by sharing this content with other solopreneurs or entrepreneurs like yourself that's in the early growth stage of their business, right? Now, to some degree, there's a barter happening, right? Because this content, if you find it valuable and you share it with someone, the anticipation is that they will also find it valuable enough to take inspired action as well. But if you always are starting every piece of content with help me get to 1,000 followers, and then maybe there is maybe that's great, right? Like, it's really cool to do something like that, especially for content creator that you actually enjoy. It's like, yep, I'm subscribed. Yep, I'm sending it to people that I think can also find it valuable, or I want them to subscribe as well. And it's fun to actually get people involved, right? Community, right? Oxytocin is released when we are making connections and helping others. But now after you finish 1,000 subscribers and you're like, all right, y'all, we just hit 1,000. Help me get to 5,000 subscribers. It's like, okay, now I'm going to help you get to 5,000 subscribers. What am I going to get out of that, right? I'm already getting this content and value for free, and I can do that as long as you're creating content. But what do I get from it? So we want to make sure that we're always over-delivering value to our audience. We should be over-delivering value to our audience. And to be quite honest, each time you don't make an offer, we are under-delivering. People want to solve their problems, so they want to make an investment into something that's going to help them do that. So if all we're doing is being self-centered and talking about how you're going to help me grow my channel, how you're going to help me grow my business, right? We want to shift that perspective into, no, this is actually about you, because once I get to 1,000 followers, I'm going to open up my first workshop. And in my first workshop, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and you will walk away with this, which is what we're talking about today. And that's going to be how you solve your problem. You get to be one of the first 1,000 people to join this workshop. That changes the whole narrative, right? So again, it's not so much that the call to action is wrong. We just want to make sure that it's strong. I like that one. Okay? It's not so much that the call to action is wrong. We just want to ensure that the call to action is also strong. Okay? Strong call to action is also very specific, transparent, and detailed with the audience, and it tells them as well what they get from it, not just you. So when we continue to grow this channel and other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and content creators are within this community, guess what? There's going to be more people dropping comments, right? And there's going to be more ideas for us to share. When I do have events, we get to invite the community to the events. We get to meet each other. We get to connect with each other on a more personal and intimate level than just on YouTube, where we can't see no one and know anybody. Like, hey, let's have a meet and greet now, right? I want to invite you into my studio. Let's have a meet and greet. I want to get to know my audience. I need help building my logo, and some of the brand elements, and I want my audience to be included. You get to participate in something with me, right? Again, oxytocin is released, and this is how communities are built, is when we get to exchange and help each other. So we want to be mindful about our call to actions being very self-centered. Help me do this without giving our audience what the benefit to them would be is dangerous and will make your call to action weak, meaning that they won't even help you get to your 1,000 subscribers, or they won't even help you with that call to action, because there's nothing in it for them. So why should they? Unless they want to do it out the kindness of their heart. There are people like that, but it's very few, and we're trying to run a business here. So running a business means what? You need to generate sales. Okay, you need to generate sales. You don't have sales, you don't have a business. Okay, it's not gonna survive and thrive. It's not gonna survive nor thrive very long if we're not generating sales, right? We want to generate leads, we want to generate sales. We want to generate leads, we want to generate sales, right? So that is our 5 things that makes our call to actions weak. I need you to go back over the content that you already dropped. Look for your call to actions. Is there any? If there is, what's the purpose? If there's a purpose, are you still aligned with that purpose for your business? If not, create a new purpose. Okay? Once you have that, what's your new call to action? Is it specific? Is it few, right? Not many. Is there a sense of urgency, right? Or some other level of importance? And how does it benefit your audience if they do this thing? Those are so important. The 5 things that makes a call to action weak is not having one at all. Is being too vague. Is having too many choices. Is there's a lack of urgency or sensitivity and relevance to the call to action, right? And that we're very selfish and being self-centered. So we want to flip our call to action to make sure that we're covering all of those things. We have one, it's specific, it's few, time sensitivity and urgency, and that your audience benefits from this call to action. Speaking of the audience benefiting from this call to action, I think it's really important for me to be able to make myself available to those who are serious about producing strong, relevant content to build their personal brand or to build their business. And I believe that we go faster and further together. And so I have a discovery call link down in the description box below if you want to work specifically on your call to actions. During this 45-minute call, we get to go over your business. We get to go over some of your content if you have it. If not, then we get to talk about your call to action content strategy so that as you're producing content going forward, that you are not missing this step. This step is so essential and important to your business because it's what helps you to generate the leads, what helps you to generate the sales. So it ties together. That's the framework. In the framework, all corners are connected through the process, right? So I want to help you with the process of styling your script for your call to action, allowing you to know where to put it inside of your content, making sure that you're checking all the boxes to make sure that it's strong. Which, by the way, I guess I could drop this as a doc. I'll drop my notes as a doc in the description box down below as well, because you could do this yourself. It's not about it's not about whether you need a coach to do this. Some of you will, some of you won't, and that's perfectly fine. For those of you who do, let's set up a discovery call. Let's network, let's meet, let's talk, and let's make sure that we are growing our business and community together. This is pretty cool. 36 minutes. All right, y'all. So that's all I got for you. I just wanted to talk about call to action. I didn't want to give too much today. Okay, you got quite a few to work with. Go back into your studio, review your content, make sure you're checking all of these boxes. If not, get on it. Then if you have not already created content, make sure that you are incorporating these steps into your next piece of content. But let's get your content piece going, right? So if you want to talk about how to utilize your call to action now that you've got it in place and you're ready to implement it, then let's do that. You get 45 minutes with me. All right, just check the description box down below and hit one of those links, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace, y'all. Have a great day.